welcome to the Weekly Mag. Today's program is a real Wild West basket case because we'll have a chat with the legendary Barça basketball player from Mississippi, Audie Norris. Let's listen to the jazzy sound of Napekla Trio. And what do you know about the Wild West? Brace yourself for Guess What with the sheriff of all quizzes, Sergi Cervera. This is the Weekly Mag, your TV show in English, hosted by Marcela Topor.
Welcome all once more. We're ready to learn, practice English and have fun with interviews, tips, books, quizzes, comedy, whatever it is that you like, you're sure to find it here. So let's get words and facts started with our collaborators, Matthew Tree, Mario Serra and our bold reporter, Humberto Gonzalez. Hello, how's it going?
Hi there.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Well, that's good. Okay, so Marius, last week we discovered chronograms.
Yep.
We did some maths as well. So will we need a calculator today?
Not today, but that doesn't mean that I won't make you think. For instance, I'll say 3 words.
Okay.
Kayak, level, race car. Have any idea about what a link between these 3 words?
Speed. Well,
Yeah, good one.
you haven't read the script. No, it's because they can be spelt the same way both ways. Something
That's
like
it. That's brilliant.
Well
because
done.
he has read the script.
that. Yep.
They are palindromes, right?
Palindromes.
This is a word for a word or a phrase that can be read forward and backward the same, like kayak, level, race car. And the first, in English, they say that the first thing that Adam says in paradise, the first thing human being says, was a palindrome. It was, Madam, I'm Adam. And
But it's almost like
Eve
a-
was the other palindrome there in the paradise, right?
It's like a tongue twister almost.
Yeah, Madam, I'm Adam, but it's exact symmetry. This is very nice because of
Well, for sure, we'll have some fun with palindromes today. Anyway, Umberto is here, so I'd like to know where you went last week.
So before I tell you, we did go to a lot, but I want to give a shout out to my friends Janet and Anne-Marie, who first took me to a lot, and they did it this way. They said, Umberto, in their British sound, would you like to see a lot today? And I was thinking like, oh my God, what are these girls doing? So I learned that a lot can be pronounced a little bit different in American and English because we say a lot, we don't say a lot. But that gave me the idea this time, Marcella, that I said, oh, let's go ahead and take that little trip to a lot. And it's because in Olat, there is a huge volcanic region, over 30 volcanoes. They're no longer active, they're dormant, but I said, why don't we go ahead and visit Olat and find out if people are scared of these earthquakes? And let's see the teaser and see what you can get an idea from.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Have you ever been involved in any situation where you have been scared because of nature?
No,
Have you ever been lost?
no,
An animal?
no, nothing.
Thor didn't come in and just take the car.
No.
No storm, not even from Thor.
They're not afraid of anything. The people in Ulot are very brave, I see.
They are, but I was trying to see if maybe they could actually use that fear to maybe grab a hug from somebody or something. And we'll see that later on in the video, Marcella, but it did not work a lot for me.
Well, we'll see that later because I really look forward to the report. But first, let's start with Matthew Tree and his stories of Catalan international connections. So, Matthew, after looking into the Catalans that thrived in Australia, what are you bringing for us today?
Hollywood.
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 That sounds
because loads and loads and loads of big Hollywood stars visited Catalonia. This is an easy question, but can you guess where in Catalonia they went? Almost all of them.
The only thing that I've seen is Ava Gardner in Tossa de Mar.
Right. Okay. We can. They kicked Ava Gardner and James Mason kicked it off. In 1950, they made a film called Pandora in Tosa de Mar, and the whole episode is quite famous for two reasons. It was the first foreign film ever made in any part of the Spanish state's territory. That was one thing. The second thing was that it was Ava Gardner had some kind of a fling with the only famous Catalan bullfighter, whose name was Mario Cabré.
Marius Cabré.
Marius in Catalan. If his name had been Catalanized, he would have been Marius Cabré.
Yeah.
And so Frank Sinatra, who was going out with Ava Gardner at the time, flew all the way, came to Tosa de Mar personally to sort out this business with Ava Gardner and Mario Cabré. And there's a whole myth around that story. But in fact, it was after 1950 that dozens of Hollywood stars and directors and films started to be made in Catalonia. And this was partly because of one man, a Catalan textile magnate, o sigui, industrialist, yeah, who had these tremendous international contacts. Have you ever heard of someone called Alberto Puig Palau?
Never.
Puig Palau? No,
Puig
Rings a
Palau.
bell.
not me.
He was an extraordinary man. He was a very successful industrialist, like I said, in the business of textiles. But he also cultivated friendships with actors, intellectuals, and so forth. He was a personal friend of Walt Disney, Ava Gardner, Grace Kelly, but also Salvador Dali and Jean Cocteau, for example. And all these people and many others would he would invite them over to the Costa Brava. They would stay in this huge mansion
Where?
that he had
Cadaqués?
there, very near Calonge.
Calonge.
Very near Calonge. And I think it's now a sort of preserved house. It's such an extraordinary building. And he was, although obviously we're talking about the 50s, the 60s, this was all under Franco, but he was an anti-Francoist. He was a Catalanist. And Joan Manuel Serrat, the singer-songwriter, dedicated quite a well-known song to him called Tio Alberto.
Ah, Tio Alberto.
Because he was loved by his workers. That was the curious thing, who called him Tio Alberto. And so much so that, unlike most business people, most industrialists, later in the 60s, 70s, when the textile business went south, he stopped selling it, he actually paid out of his own pocket the severance pay to his workers to make sure that they would have a dignified retirement from his company. So he was like quite a special guy.
Yeah, quite a character.
I did not know any of this.
No, not me. Tio
So-
Alberto
We are learning
was
a lot
very
today,
famous on
Alberto.
Yeah,
Always.
yeah, and it was all about Alberto Puig Palau. He never changed the
Palau.
Alberto to Albert, but he was still Puig.
I
Puig
always
Palau.
wondered about that sculpture that they have in Tosa de Mar about Ava Gardner. So I thank you for all that information. I did not know anything that was behind that.
If I throw out a few names to you, just to see if you recognize the names, because some of these stars used to be very big and have now become sort of forgotten about. For example, Joan Fontaine.
Ah, John Fontaine.
Yeah?
I don't know that one.
She was
Rebecca
very
by
famous.
Alfred Hitchcock. She was the star of Rebecca and Alfred Hitchcock, by Alfred Hitchcock, and she came to Cap Roig, which is now a famous place on the Costa Brava for its summer musical festival, and she filmed with Orson Welles.
And that film left a word to our Catalan language,
Yes.
which is Rebecca. Now people say Rebecca for a jersey, the same
really?
sort of jersey that wore at the film.
That she wore in this
Rebecca.
in this film. Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. Of course,
Right. Okay, Elizabeth Taylor. 1954, she filmed a film called Suddenly Last Summer in Bagou and Sagaró, both towns on the Costa
Nice.
Brava,
Wow.
and both legendary holiday resorts, in fact, on the Costa Brava. And around about the same time, Gary Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about Gary Cooper, and Madeleine Carroll? Does Madeleine Carroll ring?
No, not for me.
She made her last film in 1949. She was incredibly famous in the 30s and 40s. She was in the 39 Steps, which is quite a well-known
39 Steps,
film.
I know.
The Prisoner of Zenda.
Yeah.
She did all these films. But she and Gary Cooper and Madeleine Carroll, they just used to hang out in a village called Calonge, in much the way that Merle Oberon had hung out in Palamos. They just liked the area. And the curious thing about Madeleine Carroll is that she died at a ripe old age in 1987 in Malaga, but in her testament she stated that she wanted to be buried in Calonge. So her tomb is in Calonge on the Costa Brava. And later, throughout the 60s and 70s, you've got the whole panorama of directors like Yul Brynner, Kirk Douglas, Anthony Quinn, Rock Hudson, Joseph Losey, Anthony Quinn's son, I think still lives in Catalonia.
Yeah, he still lives
He's
here.
acted in Catalan films.
Yeah, so many interesting stories about Catalonia and Hollywood. Well, after this bit of history, we'll have a bit of fun with words, and Mario Seraf, tell us what have you brought to us today?
Yeah, this is our book today, Palindromes and Anagrams by Howard Bergerson. It's in the 70s, and it was very popular because it started to show the variety of these palindromes. As I said before, a palindrome is a word or a phrase going backward and forward and looking the same. There are some very, very, very brief, like I. For instance,
Yeah,
our
that's easy.
I is a palindrome, but there are more complex. We'll have a look about two historical examples, and afterwards I'll make you think a little bit.
We'll try.
The first one, it was in 1948 that Leigh Mercier invented a palindrome, which is the most famous in America. I have to check if you know it. This palindrome could have been a slogan for Theodore Roosevelt's presidential campaign, but it was invented. It's not true. It was a man, a plan, a canal, and then the name of a country. Any idea? Have you ever heard this?
Panama?
Panama. That's
Well
it.
done.
A man, a plan, a canal, Panama. That's a palindrome. That's absolutely symmetric phrase, and it could have been a slogan, but it was invented. But some of them can be syllabic or word by word. They are easier to understand. For instance, I would say the word palindrome linked to Dumas' Three Musketeers.
Okay.
Of course, all of you will know. I say all for one,
And one for all.
and one for all. Look at it. This is a palindrome, but word by word, not letter by letter. All for one and one for all. So it's again the symmetry.
Interesting.
Let's play a little now. If I say no melons, how? This is the half of the palindrome. No melons. The S is the X, the middle of the palindrome. So, how does it get completed?
Oh God, Marius, please don't
Come
do
on,
this to me.
Umberto. You're good at this.
No melons,
No lemons.
no lemon.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
No melons, no lemon. Then let's try with this.
Do I get a prize?
I will give you the prize.
You're
This
really
is
inspired today, yeah?
look at this.
Good.
This is a palindrome encyclopedia, another word, and all these pages are full of palindromes. But I just want you to look at the title. It is like I-L-O-V-E, I love. That's great. I love me. And how do you complete it? It's very easy.
Please look at Umberto. he knows.
There are only 4 letters left.
4 letters left.
Yeah. Try to pronounce it.
Volley.
Volley. Hollywood, volley. No? This is a tricky one.
This is hard, yeah?
This is a
This one
tricky
is hard.
one.
Yeah.
May I show you?
Please.
Yeah, please.
Volley.
No. Volume 1. This is for
Of course. Of course.
That was good.
that's good.
That's good.
Well, that's
Tricky indeed.
absolutely tricky.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so now we are finally going to see Umberto's video in Ulot. Umberto, you mentioned before the fact that the people in Ulot are not very afraid of nature.
They weren't afraid of anything. I actually, I tried to get them afraid. I tried to get a hug, you know me. I tried to get a little action in there. And nothing.
Nothing worked.
Nothing worked. But I did find out this one woman told me a story about lightning coming, going upwards instead of downwards, and you'll see that on the video. It was very interesting.
Let's have a look.
We are in the most important volcanic zone of the whole Iberian Peninsula, y'all. And are dormant today, but still cause tremors throughout most of Catalonia. I am going to go outside and see if anybody has had any experiences where they have felt fear.
I live between volcanoes in a city. I notice the energy of the geomagnetic.
Oh my God, I'm loving this geomagnetic. Anything that has to do with magnetism, I'm kind of into that.
I live hardest terremoto in Colombia, yeah. Very bad. Our city was down.
My father and friends walk a lot around the Garroch Pyrenees. On top of the mountain, they see the storm under the feet, and the lighting was going up in opposite direction. He smells like when you cook a pig.
He smelled like he had been burnt.
Yes, it's the only time that my father prayed, oh my God, save us.
If you were in an earthquake in a lot, which person would you like to be near you so you could hug them and pretend to be scared so you could, you know, get a little bit of something?
Halle Berry.
You mean Storm from the X-Men.
Yes, I like it.
When you're scared, you want to grab.
Yeah.
And yes?
No.
You don't want to grab anybody.
No.
Grab me.
But it's not, today is very
Oh no,
sunshine day.
I see a lot of lightning. Don't you see lightning? Look at the sky. It's storming. How about me? Can I come over and hug you? I'm scared. Conclusion, I didn't find a lot of people that seem to be scared of any natural disaster. I don't think one has really hit a lot. But I have a scary one for myself where I was involved in an earthquake in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. 6.1 on the Richter scale, and we will talk about that one on the show.
Well, Umberto, that was fun, the way you tried to hug everybody, but they didn't let you in the end.
No, I didn't get as much action here as I got in Ripoll. I want to do this again, but in Ripoll, and see what happens there.
What about this earthquake you mentioned? That's kind of strange, right?
Yes, not very many people know that the East Coast suffered a big earthquake back in 2011, just 8 years ago, August 23rd, in fact. And it originated in a little small town in the Shenandoah Mountains of Virginia, where I'm from. And it caused such a big earthquake that it was $20 million worth of damage just on the National Cathedral of the United States in Washington, D.C. The Washington Monument suffered enough damage that they had to close it down for 3 years while they repaired it. And it was probably one of the biggest things that I actually have experienced. I remember it was in the early afternoon. I was at home and I was walking from the bedroom to the dining room, and all of a sudden the whole building just moved. And at first I thought, did you drink again? And I said, okay, no, it's a weekday. It wasn't a weekend. I remember that. And it just kept on moving. It was so strong that I had to hang on to a wall so I wouldn't fall. And I remember seeing through the window the whole building just moving from side to side. When it stopped, it lasted maybe seconds. I mean, like maybe between 5 and 10 seconds. But when it's moving, that is a long time. And I got on Facebook, you know, we all get on Facebook, and we all posted, like, was that an earthquake? And sure enough, within minutes, it was posted on the news that we had just suffered an earthquake on the East Coast.
Which level was the earthquake?
It was actually 5.8. I did have to look that up again. It was 5.8. And one thing that's actually very interesting, Americans take things a little bit, you know, with a grain of salt. So we had an earthquake. First thing we did, everybody was let go home from work because you didn't know if you were going to have any aftershocks. This was in Washington, D.C. And then when you get home from work, what do? You go to a bar. And at the bars, they had outside Signs posted earthquake specials. Gin and tonic,
kidding.
$3. You know.
And then you drink and you get your second earthquake.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't feel that one. Yes, you would feel that one.
Okay, well, Words and Facts is coming to an end. That means that it's time to reveal the solution to last week's guess word, Marius.
Last week's, I assume it was very difficult word. It's a disadvantage, but it could be a useful hat, I say. And the answer was handicap, because a disadvantage is a handicap, but if you've got a cap and it's handy, you can put on your head.
Look at Matthew's face.
A handy cap.
Yeah, tricky.
That's it.
Tricky one.
Well, that was difficult. Today I'm going to be easier, an easier man. Yeah, I think so.
Let's
But
hope so.
You can't say the answer, right? Okay.
We won't.
It's just a very easy. Drama on this button. 4 letters. Drama on this button. 4 letters.
Well, I don't know if it's easy or not. Drama on this button. Only 4 letters. You can be the first to crack the guess word and post your answer. Well, thank you, Marius. Thank you, Matthew, Umberto. Until next time. And now let's take a break. But let me ask you, if you are basketball fans, then you can't miss the following interview with a true Barça basketball legend, Audie Norris. Stay tuned. Many of you may remember Audie Norris, who gave Barça basketball fans many moments of joy. But we'll have an interesting chat with him right now after our glossary.
We begin today's glossary with one of the most spectacular plays in basketball, the dunk shot. To dunk is to dip something into a liquid. Quite visually, when talking about basketball, is when a player leaps up and throws the ball down through the basket. Another basketball concept is draft. A draft is a process used in the USA, Canada, Australia and Mexico to be able to assign certain players to sports teams. In a draft, like the NBA draft, teams take turns selecting a group of eligible players and then they get the exclusive rights to sign a contract. And yet another sports-related word you need to know, jersey. The jersey is the upper garment worn by the players in their games, the sports shirt. And the last expression of the glossary is to imprint. To imprint is to leave a strong and lasting effect on something. So when something is imprinted on your memory, it is firmly fixed so that you will not forget it.
He is one of the most beloved American basketball players that have ever played for Barça. A star from the late 80s, almost everybody remembers his duels against Fernando Martin. And today, still committed to basketball, he coaches future players, he's an NBA ambassador, gives talks for players and coaches, and also enjoys life. The Atomic Dog is in the house. Well, Audie Norris, welcome to the Weekly Mag.
Thank you. I love that intro. That was nice.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor for us to have you here. We are big fans, huge fans of yours.
Thank you.
I would like to start with a quote.
Uh-oh.
You once said, your body's been hurting almost all your life.
Yes.
It's a good quote, I think, to describe the kind of player you were. So do you think it was worth it?
Absolutely. I wouldn't change anything that I've done in my life. If, only thing I would have changed, we would have had better doctors during that time to take care of me. But as far as playing, I'd do it all over again. Pain, everything, it was worth it. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
You suffer as an athlete, but you have fun doing it.
The nickname Atomic Dog, where does it come from?
Well, actually, it came from my teammate, Michael Thompson, who's the father of the famous Klay Thompson now the Golden State Warriors. We were locker mates with the Blazers, and man, it was, I had some incredible dunks during the NBA as well. So after one game with the Dallas Mavericks, I had kind of dunked on the whole team, and I was giving an interview after the game, and Michael Thompson, he's a big prankster also, so he would always kind of photobomb the interview. So he came into my interview and said, "Hey, did you see the atomic bomb that Audie did with the dunk? I mean, it was like he's the atomic dog." And from that point on, the name stuck. There was the reporters from Portland, and they've been calling me Atomic Dog ever since, and the name is stuck with me.
Yes, indeed. As well as Barcelona. Barcelona also stuck with you, I think. In Barcelona, you won 3 leagues in a row, and you became an idol here and all over the world. You also said once that it's in Barcelona where you became a man, no? Not just a great player, but also a person.
Right.
So why is that? Why is Barcelona so important?
Well, I mean, I spent the better part of my adult life growing up in Barcelona. I mean, when I came to Barcelona, I was probably around 26 years old, and it kind of started my maturity as a man. You know, I went through my, college years and years in the NBA, but the real maturity came when I reached Barcelona. So I learned a lot. I grew a lot as a person and as a player. So that's why I said that, because this is where I spent the better part of my career playing for Barcelona.
You played in the NBA for the Portland Trail Blazers, but you come from Jackson.
Yes.
So do you think that being born in the 60s in Mississippi made you tougher and prepared you for basketball?
It prepared me for basketball, but it didn't prepare me for life outside of Mississippi. Life in Mississippi was black and white. You know, you had blacks living in one part of the town, whites living in the other, and all I knew was, my black community. Okay, so once I got to college and, started traveling a little bit, started seeing the world, it was a little bit different. I'm like, oh.
So you were still living, there was still racism back then, right?
Oh, absolutely. Even to this day, unfortunately. But yes, I grew up in the era where they had the first segregated schools. So my 6th grade year of elementary school, my school was like walking distance. I can walk like, maybe half a mile to my school, and I'd be at school. But then they did the segregation and they changed the busing, and now they bust us like 15 miles to the white part of town.
Right.
And man, there were fights every day between blacks and whites in that school. It was really racially intense moments.
Actually, for many NBA players, basketball was a way to escape from the street. Such as, for example, Kevin Durant, who said that basketball had saved his life. He said that in a famous speech that he gave. So do you agree that sport and basketball in this case is important in this sense?
I mean, it's important. There's a huge reward for it at the end if you reach the highest level of the game, but it all depends on where you grow up, who your parents are, the community you live in.
Was this your case?
No, my case was kind of different because you didn't know my father. Yeah, I got big hands, but my dad's hand was way bigger than mine.
Really?
And yeah, so I was a very obedient child. So we didn't get into much trouble. All right, because we were more afraid of my dad than being in trouble. So no, growing up was not that hard for us. I mean, we wasn't a rich family by no means, but we had everything that we need to survive. My older brother was a very good basketball player as well, named Sergi Norris, and he was my hero, my mentor. Taught me how to play the game. So it was not difficult growing up in Jackson, Mississippi. The only difficult part I had was when I went to Portland, and for the first time, and I saw be a black guy with a white girl or a white girl with the black guy, or vice versa. You couldn't do that back then. So it kind of opened my eyes to every part of the states is not like Mississippi. There's there's a big difference in cultural relationships in the States.
What's your opinion on women and basketball, women's NBA?
I love women's NBA game. I'm a big fan. I used to coach women's basketball when I was living in Mississippi. My daughters played for me when I coached AAU basketball in Jackson for the Mississippi Lady Tigers.
Okay.
And I've had several players that go on to become WNBA players. In fact, my daughter was one of them. Sasha Goodlash, she was the number 11 or 12th pick in the WNBA draft. And another girl that I coach, Lysandra Barrett, she was number 12.
So she's still playing?
She's still playing today. She's playing in Ankara, Turkey today, and they're in the first division. So yeah, she's still playing. Sasha's a big girl.
Basketball is in the family, no? All over in the family. So how do you see the situation of equality in women's basketball? There is a lot of struggle still?
Yeah, there's a lot of struggle still, and there's still going to be struggle because, I mean, you know, you talk about equality. I don't think the WNBA is ever going to get to the level of the NBA as far as salaries goes. Do they need to be paid well? Absolutely. But it's going to take a lot more sponsorship and marketing the brand to get the salaries up to a level that, you know, they deserve. Whatever they get, I'm definitely all for it. But it's going to take some time to get there, for sure.
Why do you chose Catalonia to live?
Yes.
Why is that? And how do you see the situation of basketball in Catalonia?
Well, I've always wanted to come back to Catalonia to live. Even when I played with Barcelona, that was, I mean, if you go back and look at a lot of my interviews, that was, you know, one of the constant things that I always said. When I retire, you know, my kids, you know, get off to college or whatever, I want to come back to Barcelona and live. I loved it here that much. Like I said, I mean, it imprinted on me the culture and the lifestyle here because I grew up here, basically. And so I came back here. I got a divorce about 9 years ago, and you know, back then when I was a player, I thought I was going to come here under different circumstances. But, you know, based on the divorce, you know, half of my vision is true. I'm here. I'm just not here with my family. But my kids are everything okay. My son Nico's was born here in Barcelona. My oldest son, Alessandro, grew up here in Barcelona. So there was always been an attachment here to Barcelona. So now I got a good life here, you know.
Excellent. And you're doing a lot of things. Can you tell us a few of your projects, what you are doing at the moment? I know you travel a lot and doing so many things.
Well, first thing, I have my basketball camp here every summer. I think it's going on, 8 years now that I've done my camp in Hospitalet in Pavillon Gornal.
Okay.
And I love doing that. I love doing the basketball camp because a lot of the kids that are in my camp, the parents of those kids were my fans when I played here. So now I'm coaching their kids. So for me, that's a double bonus for me to do that, and it's an honor. I'm also the NBA ambassador for Europe. I've been the NBA ambassador for Europe going on, I think, three years now. So we go throughout European community and train kids, talk to kids about the NBA values and, you know, values of staying in school and training and, you know, eating right, you know, all the things that, you know, the young kids need to hear. And
so lots of projects, right?
Yeah, a lot of projects, man. I mean, I've done camps in Senegal and Africa, and do camps in Greece also, and I also work in China. This is one of the projects that I have in China, the King of Kings basketball tournament. I bring 8 or 9 players from Spain and play in a huge money prize tournament in Shanghai. in the summer. And, prior to that, I was, coaching the Chinese players. I had like 64 Chinese players during the summer that I would coach, and end up making them a big team in the China tournament.
Wow.
What else?
That looks like a really busy agenda.
Man, there's so many other things. I also work with my wife in the Mrs. Globe project in China and Shanghai. That been doing that for the last 5 years.
Wow, Audie,
Yeah.
you're definitely a very busy person.
Well, I mean, it's better than sitting on the couch, yeah?
Exactly. Good point. Well, as we can see, there's more to basketball and sport than meets the eye. A path we'll explore in a minute with a new collaborator after this language tip.
So, we use the word so in English a lot. So much so that in some situations we use it so often, it's better to find other words so it doesn't sound so repetitive. So, you see what I mean? In formal English, we can use therefore. For example, we disagree with your theory, therefore we'll do it our own way. We can also use so to introduce a question. So, are you coming? In this situation, we can replace the word so with then. Are you coming then? So, are you coming? Are you coming then? They mean the same thing. So, until the next tip. See you later.
Elena is from Barcelona, Irmantas comes from Lithuania. Another international love story with a happy ending in Love in Translation.
Now our guest Audie Norris has played in the USA and in Europe's top basketball leagues, where stakes are incredibly high for players, and so is pressure. So to talk about this other side of sport today, we are happy to have with us at the Weekly Mag a reporter, journalist, and also a great basketball coach, Esther Gonzalez. Welcome, Esther.
Hello, thank you.
I know you're a great fan of Audie Norris.
Yeah, I am. I must confess, I chose number 14 for my jersey when I started playing as a kid because of you. I was really little, but
I'm honored. I'm honored.
I didn't play as a center, but anyway, I love the way you play, so that's that's something I had to say, and also that I think Barça should have retired number 14 long ago, but doesn't depend on me, so just to be clear.
Either.
Okay.
But thank you.
Esther, you've got a long list of examples for us, basketball players, very famous ones who have been under a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah, let's begin with Audie himself. I mean, he's one of Barca's legends and idols, but and he also changed the way that we saw American basketball players, because before people thought that they were kind of selfish, just looking for their statistics and not for the team's performance. So, but you changed. You did not only make good scores, but also you played for the team and you made a deep impact on the way that Barça played that time. So I wanted to ask you, why do you think it's difficult sometimes, or was, and it is still difficult for some American basketball players to play here, and wasn't for you?
Well, that's a great point, a great question, because theoretically the Americans that came to Europe, they came here to do those things, to score, to be the man, to do everything. But they didn't have, many results doing that, because you only got one player that's controlling the game, and that's the easy way to defend a team with you count on that one person. My mentality was totally different. When I got to Barça, I wanted to win. And the players that were around me, they wanted to win too, but they thought I had the same mentality as most Americans coming in here. So they were surprised when they would pass me the ball and they'd get a ball back. And sometimes they get a ball back upside their head or in their chest because they wouldn't expect, an American to pass the ball. And that was what they said. This guy's not normal. He's not a different. He's a different American. He passed the ball. I said, yes, because I want you to help me win, and I want to help you win. That was the mentality, man, and that drew us closer together as a team. And man, it was one of the best experiences that I had as a player, because I didn't want everything on my shoulders, you know, because when you lose, it's the American lost the game, not the Barça lost the game, or not Juventud lost the game. It's the American lost the game. No, we lose the game as a team. We win, and we lose together. And that changed the whole atmosphere and mentality for my Spanish teammates, because I couldn't have done it without them. I mean, I had the best teammates ever.
We've mentioned slightly before your duels against Fernando Martin. I think everybody has them in their mind, no matter if they're basketball fans or not. You were really tough in the paint with him, but actually you had a good relationship outside the court. I mean, you were really hard. Some people said you were even aggressive, but you've got many friends in Madrid, like Virikov and others. How do you remember that?
You're being too nice. we tried to kill each other on the court. We tried to kill each other on the court. I mean, it was that way. I mean, on the court, it was a battle. I mean, Fernando was the image of Spain, was the image of Madrid. And when I first came to Barcelona, that was one of the first things my teammates told me about, was the history between Barça and Madrid. And so now that I got that in my mind and I got it in my soul, so now I'm anti-Madrid, anti-everything Madrid. So when we play against Madrid, it's war, it's battle. And the battles that Fernando and I had, I really think, and a lot of coaches have said this too, it changed the game of Spanish basketball, because it actually helped grow Spanish basketball during that time, because everybody in every part of Spain was waiting for those games to come on TV. And no matter where I go today, 30 years later, people talk about those games like it happened last night. And it's incredible. You know, outside of basketball, I had a lot of respect for Fernando. He was, he was a normal guy. You know, this is the court. Outside the court, I'm a normal guy too. But here, I'll kill my grandma if I'm playing against her. You know, that's the mentality you had to have. Mm-hmm. And so, man, Fernando, Madrid, Barça, those games were epic. And, you know, we're in Canary Islands, in the mountains, just me and my wife, just walking around. Mm-hmm. A group of guys come by on bicycles. I mean, they can't really, I don't think they noticed me, but man, they almost fell off their bikes when they saw it was me, I'm like, here? In the mountains again? That's the impact that we had on the game, man. It was so unfortunate that, you know, Fernando, you know, passed away from the accident, but his legacy, his memory still lives on, and it still lives on through me, because I can't go anywhere without talking about Fernando, our battles together. I mean, it was what changed the game for Spanish basketball.
Well, I bet we could write books about this, no? A lot of books.
Well, that's coming.
Is it? It's good. It's good.
That's coming.
It's good to know. What book are we talking about?
I don't have the title yet. You know, my wife been pushing me to do this book for the last couple of years now, so I'm getting mentally prepared to do it. So I'm going to talk less about what Fernando and my experiences are, you know, than going forward, and just concentrate on doing my own book, because everybody else got their own version of what they think. I'm gonna do my own version.
Looking forward to it.
Oh,
That's excellent
Absolutely.
news,
I'll
Steph.
definitely bring it on the show when it happens, for sure.
You know when it will come out?
No, not yet. Not yet. That's a lot of material.
Yeah, I bet.
That's a lot
so.
of material.
Okay, Esther, what about other players from here who went to NBA?
Yeah, Fernando Martin, as we mentioned, was the first. He played for the Blazers,
Yep.
just as Audie had done years before him.
Yeah.
He played for a season there. And after the next, who has had great impact and great success, is the Catalan Pau Gasol. He's won 2 NBA champion rings. He was Rookie of the Year. Another example is his brother, Marc Gasol, who has had an amazing year being NBA champion with the Toronto Raptors and also world champion with the Spanish national team. But not all players adapt the same way. For example, Juan Carlos Navarro, he did a reasonably good season with the Memphis Grizzlies back in 2007.
Right.
But he came back to Barcelona because he wasn't adapting as well. He and his family weren't happy at all in the States. Another example now is Ricky Rubio. He's been MVP in the World Championship as well, but he confessed he had hard times, maybe because he was supposed to be a great start from the very beginning when he was really young, 16, 17, all eyes were on him. And he also had to struggle with his mother's death. So what I mean is not all depends on your game. Sometimes it's hard to adapt there. So what do you think makes the difference?
Yeah, put up with
apart
pressure,
from your own performances in the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like I said, for me, it was the reverse coming to Europe. For them, it's reverse going to the States. They have to adapt to being in different climates, different atmosphere that they're not accustomed to. And there's more pressure in the NBA because the level of play is a whole lot higher than what you have here in the competition level. Because first of all, the Americans, they don't want Europeans coming over there taking their jobs. And so they're gonna play extra hard against whatever foreign players coming into that team until he proves himself to be, worthy of being there. So that's pressure that, people don't know about. And it's hard to adapt to that if you're not mentally strong. You don't have your family. I mean, like Paul and Mark, they had their families in the States with them when they was going there. Like the kid I coached in Sevilla, Kristaps Porzingis, when he went to New York, he had his family there with him to support him. So it all depends on, like I said, the atmosphere, the team, the family support that you have, and how mentally tough you are going into that. I mean, even Fernando Martin had a tough time in Portland adapting to being there. Drazen Petrovic had a tough time adapting his first years in Portland. He stayed longer, then he changed teams, things got better. But it's not as easy. You have to be mentally strong, not just physically, but more so mentally, and you got to have family support. More
And as
than anything.
kids, I guess it's important to prepare the kids for this kind of pressure.
Absolutely.
You work with kids in the summer camps, and so how do you prepare them to be exposed to pressure, not only in the highest level, but I mean, for example, kids who are playing now and have their families upon them, like shouting and all this stuff. So how do you deal with pressure when you're that young?
That's a difficult thing, because now you have to coach the parents as well. You have to tell the parents to shut up and let the kids, be the kids and play the game, because they put more pressure on the young kids than the young kids put on themselves.
Right.
Because, they're pressuring them to, hey, get the ball, score, do this, and the kid is trying to play within the framework of the team, but he also got his dad or his mom or his sister, his brother, he's yelling at him also. Unnecessary pressure. So I think parents should really restrain themselves from being so aggressive with the youth game in basketball. But man, you know, it's tough. My players and during the camp, when I have my camp, especially the ones that are considering going to the States for college and want to go there, you know, I don't, pardon my French, I don't bullshit them. I tell them the truth about what they're going to expect when they get to the States. You know, they're going to have to fight for their position. They're going to have to be mentally strong, not literally fight. Hopefully not. But mentally, they're going to have to do whatever it takes to withstand the pressure from their teammates. Because, like I said, they don't want you coming in there taking their job, taking their minutes to play. So you got to be strong. You got to go in there with that mentality. I'm coming in here to take these minutes so I can play because I'm the outsider. And that's how they got to mentally be prepared to go in there.
Exactly.
And then they got to study. And then they got to play. They had to do. I mean, it's a whole different atmosphere going into university basketball.
Great tips for putting up with pressure.
Yeah.
No, Esther?
Yes.
Well, we're running out of time, but before we finish, we have a special question. It's called the question chain, and it's a question for you. Yeah, Audie. From our last show's guest. In this case, it was the journalist and sommelier Meritxell Falgueras.
Hello, I'm Meritxell Falgueras. I'm journalist and sommelier, and I want to know what is your favorite drink?
My favorite drink. Okay, Meritxell. My favorite drink is Gentleman Jack. I'm a Jack Daniels guy.
Oh,
okay. I like my cigar and my Jack Daniels.
Okay. Well, I bet Meritxell is very satisfied with this answer. Thank you so much, Audie, for coming today to the interview. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this show. It's been a real honor to be here.
The honor is ours.
Yeah.
And Esther, thank you so much, and I'll see you around.
I'll see you, and it was a pleasure for me, so thank you.
Nice to meet you,
Well,
Esther.
we still have many stories in today's show. We have a tale of solidarity, we have a love story, and more tips, recommendations, and of course our quiz show. Guess what? And bits of humor like this one.
My name is Luke Messina Maginski. I'm half Jewish and half Italian, so I'll rob you blind, but I'll invest your money wisely. You can find me on Instagram at hashtag Bitcoin and Bagels, hashtag birthright pasta bolognese.
Welcome back. It's time for a new love story. Today we'll introduce you to Irmantas from Lithuania and Elena from Barcelona, a young couple who met in London in an Irish pub, and after some difficulties in communication they soon started dating, and last June they got married. So let's discover their love story.
My name is Irmantas. I'm originally from Lithuania.
And me, it's Elena Belver. I'm from here, from Barcelona.
And me and Elena have been together for 7 years now. We met in London in a bar. The bar was Irish. I was working there, and then Elena started working there. So at the time, Elena didn't speak very well English. So there was some difficulties in communication, but I think we managed.
And it was very, very funny stuff. I will say that was Irmantas because, well, at the beginning I was working in the bar, I couldn't manage my English, was terrible. And Irmantas, from the first start that I started in my job, he was texting a lot of messages. So he was saying we need to do some beer outside. I was thinking how I'm gonna meet this guy that I really like. I couldn't manage to talk with him. I couldn't understand very well the text. So at the end I said, why not?
The way it was, I think I had a slow strategy, slow but effective. Collecting points. I first met her sister. Got some points with her, and then made the move. I don't know. I would think it's over Christmas, the obsession with, well, no other word to say it, shit. Cagatillo. I mean, that's a very interesting tradition, as in you beat a stick and then it's supposed to shit sweet. It's a bit, when you listen to it for the first time, it sounds weird. And then you have the caganet, no? That also is shitting. So a little bit strange, no? Over Christmas, a bit of obsession over shit.
I will say that in Lithuania in winter is very, very cold time. So they really like to go to the saunas when it's maybe under 20 degrees. So they go to the saunas, and when they are getting really, really hot, so they decide to open the sauna and go inside to the snow, to go inside the snow. So for me it was a little too much shock. I will not adopt, it's not maybe for me the word, but it's, for example, the food. The food it's really heavy. So sometimes they are boiling a lot of potato because it needs to be very heavy for the cold weather. So in winter they are doing very prepared food, and I will say that, food.
I'm trying to think, no, from Catalan culture.
No,
yeah, not sure.
You're not adopt? I don't know.
I like everything here. Intimate nickname.
Intimate nickname?
So?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Sweetie.
Because we started speaking in English at the beginning.
What?
And I don't know.
It's a sweet word, no, to say like darling. We don't say darling, so we say sweetie, sweet, sweetie, I guess. What are you writing? Because Hermantas always is expending a lot of time to go to work, to home, so he hates that, so he always say the time, so I was thinking the time. And for you, yeah, the running.
At the moment, my current running shoes. Yeah, it took me a while to say.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I took it slow.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I took it slow as well, but I think that I was the first. But to be honest, I don't remember very well.
Hi. When something is long and boring and you just want it to end, you can say that it lasts for a very long time. There are some creative alternatives to this phrase. Here are two expressions that mean last a very long time. First one, forever, or forever and ever, or even forever and a day. It took him forever to write that email. If you're more of an animal lover, you might like this next one. Until the cows come home. Tim could talk until the cows come home. The idea is that the cows will never come home. Anyway, I could go on with this tip until the cows come home, so I better stop now. Thank you.
If you are into jazz, you certainly won't miss the upcoming performance of today's music band, Napekla Trio.
Today we feel like listening to a bit of good jazz, that's why we have invited the Napekla Trio, made up by the guitar player Pedro Bastos, the trumpet player Nazareno Brischetto, and the amazing voice of Claudia Bat, with whom we'll have a chat today. Well, Claudia, welcome in the first place.
Thank you.
You're from Venice.
Yeah.
How long have you been living in Barcelona?
4 years now.
4 years. And since then you started music, right?
Well, yes, I could say yes, yes.
In Barcelona, it's when you started your musical career.
Yeah, and studying too. Well, first studying and then. Yeah.
All right, well, you're into jazz, but you are also into Latin American music, such as boleros and bossa nova. Let's see, what's in your opinion the influence of Latin America's to jazz?
Latin American music, well, there was big influence. Actually, many. Well, from Brazil especially, that's a country where we had so many composers, so they call it Brazilian jazz, bossa nova, for example, but we had a big influence, especially from Brazil, but I think there has always been a connection between the two words. Many jazz standards, actually, they were boleros originally, for example, so there was always a big connection, right? I think so.
When we say jazz, bossa nova and bolero, the differences between them?
Well, the language mainly, of course, yeah, but there's not much difference. I mean, it's music, so in terms of voice, there's no difference.
Okay, so let's see, to see the differences, could you sing a couple of verses of each style?
Yeah, starting with boleros, for example.
Whatever you want, yeah, sure.
Siempre que me preguntas que cuándo, cómo y dónde, tú siempre me respondes, quizás, quizás, quizás. Yeah?
It's a classic.
Or a very famous bossa nova, for example. Vai, minha tristeza, e diz pra ela que sem ela não pode ser. This is
beautiful.
Yeah. What else you said?
Well, jazz, bossa nova, it's jazz, no? Maybe the last one.
Jazz. Summertime and the living is easy. Fish that jumping and the cotton is high.
I love this one. Let's see, you're Italian, like we said before, from Venice. Also, Nazareno Brischetto, the trumpet player, is Italian. And the guitar player, Pedro Bastos, is Brazilian. But how come you have chosen these Latin American styles?
Well, I mean, I like languages in general, so of course. Well, mainly I speak Portuguese too, so with Pedro we've always done some bossa nova. I mean, it comes naturally, yeah. And yeah, I think it's just we all like this type of music, so the fusion is very nice. I think, you know, to combine these styles.
Okay, I'm curious about the name Napekla Trio. Where does it come from?
Our names. So
your names.
Nazareno, Pedro, and Claudia.
Oh,
it's
interesting. It sounded very exotic.
Yeah, no, that's the intention. Yeah.
It sounds good. Tell me about Barcelona. How has this city influenced you, and how it made you actually dedicate your career to music?
Well, since I came here, I was always surrounded by musicians. Most of my friends were musicians, so they kind of pushed me. So that's why.
Okay, and how did you guys meet? The band, the rest of the band?
Well, Pedro, I met him because he was playing with other friends of mine, and Nazareno, I met him in a jam session. So that's a very easy way to meet musician here, right?
Tell us more about your musical references, artists that inspire you.
Okay, well, It's such a big word. I mean, of course, I've always listened to jazz, but I love all this music that it's coming from Africa. Like, I always listen to many musicians from Africa, from Mali and Cape Verde especially. I think there are so many new artists, like right now, new young artists actually, that are very, very nice, and many of them live in Europe actually now. Yeah, so it's, I don't know, now I think it's easy, very easy to access for us now in Europe than before. Probably because of all the immigration that we have. So, and this, yeah.
Okay. I know you play covers, a lot of covers, no? From Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Nina Simone, Tom Jobim. Which one is you like them all, or you have one in particular that inspires you most, maybe?
Well, Ella Fitzgerald, of course, yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Okay, so what are you going to sing for us today?
We will play Why Don't You Do It Right by Peggy Lee. So jazz standard.
Which is Why Don't You Do It Right by Peggy Lee.
Yeah.
Okay, Claudia, thank you so much for coming. Good luck with all your projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. And while the Napekla Trio gets ready on stage, we'll watch a language tip. We often use the word because to introduce a cause, but actually there is a whole range of expressions and structures to describe cause and effect. So check out this language tip with Helen Armstrong and Tim Wari from International House, Barcelona.
Hi, today we're describing causes. Now, we often use the word because, but it can be overused. So today we're going to give loads more examples, okay? Tim, today your hair's looking a bit messy. Why is that?
Well, my hair's a bit of a mess because I didn't have time to comb it properly.
Right, so he used because. Try again with using another word, okay? So why didn't you comb it properly?
Okay, I didn't comb it properly as I was in a hurry.
Right, so he used as. Now, this can be a little bit ambiguous sometimes because it has many different meanings. There are other words to use, such as since. So why were you in a hurry?
Well, I was in a hurry since I had to leave my house immediately.
Right, so with since, it stresses the consequence. So we can use this at the beginning of the sentence as well.
So, since I was in such a hurry, I didn't have time to comb my hair properly.
Okay, now since is a little bit formal, so we can use nouns instead. So why were you in such a hurry?
Well, because of the smoke.
Oh, right, so because of the smoke. So we can also use on account of the smoke, as a result of the smoke. Tim, why was there smoke in your house?
Well, as a result of the fire.
Oh, okay. So we can also use due to the fact that there was a fire. Tim, why was there a fire in your house?
Well, owing to the fact that I fell asleep while smoking a cigarette.
Okay, right. So we can also use verbs as well. So why were you sat up on the sofa late at night smoking?
Well, that was all brought about by the fact that I was binge watching a crime series.
Right, so we can also use verbs as long as they mean the same thing as cause. So Tim, tell us everything.
Yeah, so I stayed up to binge watch this crime series, which caused me to fall asleep on the sofa smoking a cigarette. Well, this resulted in a fire, which led to a big cloud of smoke. The smoke made me realize the urgency of the situation, and that's why I didn't have time to comb my hair properly.
Right.
Can I borrow your phone?
Yes, of course. Why?
I need to phone the fire brigade.
Okay, right, do that.
Oh, and have you got a comb?
Yeah.
Okay.
You had plenty money, 1922. You let all the women make a fool of you. Why don't you do it right, like some other men do? Get out of here, give me some money too. You sit down and wonder, what is this all about? You ain't got got no money, they will put you out. Why don't you do it right, like some other men do? Get out of here, give me some money too. If you had prepared 20 years ago, you wouldn't be a wandering from door to door. Why don't you do it right, like some other men do? Get out of here, give me some money too. Dooba-dooba, ba-dooba-doo, down there, ba-doo-ba-doo-ba. I fell for your driving and I let you in, and all you gotta offer me is a drink of gin. Why don't you do it right, like some other men do? Get out of here, give me some money too. Ba-doo-ba-doo-boo, ba-doo-ba-doo, down there, ba-doo-ba-doo-ba, ba-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo, ba-doo-ba-doo-boo.
How many Wild West legends do you know? Stay tuned for a special Guess What about the Old West with the quizmaster Sergi Cervera.
And we are back with the next section, which is called One of Us. And today we feature Judith Cronin from the UK. She realized how lucky she was in her life just being born in the First World. So she decided to help others and joined the Red Cross in Barcelona. Let's discover her work and how she feels about it in the following video.
Hello, my name is Judith and I've been living in Barcelona for just over 2 years, and overall in the Red Cross as a volunteer I've probably spent 7 or 8 years of my time both in London and here. We lived down in the south of Spain at the beginning of the 2000s. And I was always very conscious of the fact that through sheer good luck, I had been born in a certain country at a certain time, received a good education, and that there were many, many people who had not had the same luck as me and my children. And I started working, first of all, as a volunteer for the Comisión Española de Ayuda al Refugiado down in Málaga. Then we moved to London and joined the Red Cross in London. And as I was an English teacher and examiner, they said, oh great, we can use you, and I helped do induction courses for new volunteers for the Red Cross. So I carried on doing that for a few years in London, and then when I came to Barcelona, I joined the Red Cross here as a volunteer. And what I do here is, again, I help new volunteers, would-be volunteers, by giving information on the activities we do here, the way we help people, and helping volunteers decide what they would like to do, what kind of area they would like to work in, because we work in so many different areas. And also, since I've retired about a year ago, I've started giving Spanish lessons to immigrants and refugees in a residential centre, one of the centres that the Red Cross has in Barcelona. In an effort, what we do is to try and prepare people who have come to this country fleeing from their own countries. We try and help them with the tools to find a new life here and to be able to settle into as much a normal life as possible by, for example, teaching them the language and helping them in general find a new life and fit into society. At the moment, I come to the main office here usually one day a week to do the sessione formativa, the information session, and then I go a morning a week to the migrants and refugees residential centre, which is in another area of Barcelona. So I do basically 2 mornings a week, but then sometimes they will ask me if I can come in and help out. For example, taking an immigrant lady with a child to the doctor. I can accompany them to the doctor, translate. I like doing that, it's very nice. Most of the time it is gratifying because you do feel that, okay, you've just helped one person at a bad moment in their life, but that's one person that you have helped, and that is gratifying. Sometimes, however, it can be very difficult. Obviously, in moments of emergency, catastrophe, some of the immigrants as well, their stories and so forth. And then you think, oh gosh, you know, can I bear this? And you think, no, come on, keep doing it. I've got a whole new world here because otherwise, as I say, I retired from teaching and examining just over a year ago, so you know, thank goodness the Red Cross is there. So it works both ways, definitely. Otherwise, I don't know what I would be doing. I mean, I like reading, I like going out and visiting museums, I love going to concerts and the opera, but there's an awful lot of hours in the day, and if you can do something to help people who are having, you know, a bad time at that moment, then why not? The Red Cross is based on a solid foundation of volunteers, and the volunteers are just as important as the people who work here for a living, so it's like 50-50. So we're all the same, we're all equal, and we sit down and we work together and we talk together and we make I made a lot of friends of all kinds of backgrounds, and we also have social activities. It's a very, very lovely atmosphere, very open, very interesting. People who work here or who volunteer here are obviously very open-minded, and I get on with everyone very well. I enjoy coming here a lot. The message I give to people who volunteer, to fellow volunteers in the Red Cross who work with immigrants and refugees is, you're never going to be able to solve all their problems, but you are there to just help at a given moment with a kind word, with a practical suggestion, with something that will help them to forge their own way forward in life. To people who turn their backs and are, unfortunately there are a few, anti-immigrants and refugees, I would say what I say to myself. Just thank your lucky stars that you were born at a certain time in a certain place, being of a certain colour, and with, you know, the chance to receive a good education. And just, why should you be any better than them? You're not. We're all human beings under the skin. I deal with immigrants and refugees every day, or nearly every day of the week, as do people here. And they have the same feelings, the same love for their children, the same worries, the same fears as you or I. And it makes you really be very grateful for what you have.
Hello. It's time for some interesting reads, and here come Salva and Aneida from the Xarxa de Bibliotecas Municipals of the Diputació de Barcelona with 2 book recommendations.
My recommendation today is
Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. When I was a child, I read The Jungle Book, and I remember there was a comic about it, and there were stories, and there was a film about it, and even poetry, which I recited. Now I'm an adult, and I look at the book again, and I don't think it was so naive. I love it because I analyze it now with the perspective of maturity. Do you think it's correct that a small white boy goes to a jungle which does not belong to him and rules it? Is it correct from the point of view of race? Is it correct from the point of view of ecology? Read the book again as an adult and read it from the perspective of a native inhabitant of the jungle. Imagine you're a tiger and tell me all about it afterwards.
Cold Comfort Farm is a novel written in the 1930s by Stella Gibbons. As the Sunday Times said, it's probably the funniest book ever written. Stella Gibbons wrote it as a parody of the dramatic, romantic novels set in the countryside at that time. The main character is Flora Post. She becomes an orphan and she has to move with her relatives into a farm. It's a classic that you must read.
Cold Comfort Farm and The Jungle Book, two great books to consider. Look for them at your local library. And now, as promised, it's time for Guess What? A quiz for you to play from home to test your knowledge, but most of all, to have fun. And let's welcome, of course, the actor, presenter, and man of surprises, our quizmaster, Sergi Cervera. Hello.
Hi, Marcella.
Hi.
Or should I say... Yeehaw!
Wow.
Yeah, that was intense, because today we dedicate our show to perhaps one of the times in history that more legends has created in less time. As you can see, with this Stetson, I'm referring to...
Let me guess, the Vikings?
That's right, the Viking. No, of course not. We're talking about the Wild West.
Yeah, that wasn't obvious at all. Okay, so let's introduce our contestants. Today we start with our guest, Miquel Lopez, a journalist from Televisió de Badalona. Welcome, Miquel.
Nice to be here with these two contestants, which are so good, they tell me. Yeah.
Thank you for coming, Miquel. Well, Miquel, we know that apart from being a journalist, you are also a culture person, you're a cinema fan, you've been an amateur actor as well. So tell us, what projects are you in at the moment?
Well, now at the moment I'm working because, as you have said, I am a journalist, and these days journalists have a lot of work to do. So
yeah,
I cannot play theater, for example, but I'm willing to do it again some of these days.
Okay, and let's also say hello to our native contestants, our usual suspects, Patricia Scalona and Mark Broderick.
Howdy,
welcome back.
Today we will start with the multiple choice challenge. We will go over some stories of the Old West. Let's start with an easy one, with arguably the most popular American outlaw, Jesse James.
Okay, so Jesse Woodson James was a Southerner bank and train robber whose life and feats were romanticized and became a kind of Robin Hood. It led to many books and movies, and there's even a popular folk song about him.
There is no evidence Jesse shared any of his beauty with poor people, but well, there is no evidence that Robin Hood did either. Anyway, everyone knows that Jesse was shot in his own home by Robert Ford, a member of his gang. But how Robert shot him? I'm gonna give you three options, and you pick the one that you consider the right one. I'm seeing some scary faces here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Howdy, ma'am?
No idea about Jesse James.
No idea. Well, we will see about it. Let's trust to your luck then.
Let's go.
A. Well, Jesse James was cleaning a picture on the wall. Option B. Well, Jesse was looking out the window. And option C. Well, Jesse was doing a crossword puzzle.
Who the hell knows?
What's your pick, man?
Mine is gonna be C.
C.
Whatever. New York
I
Times,
think
probably.
it was A.
A. Well, he was cleaning a picture on the wall. And Mark?
I think I've seen this in a movie, and I have a feeling it looks like he was staring out into the distance through the window. So I'm gonna go with B just to be different.
So option B for Mark.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so the right answer is A. Well done, Miguel. Congratulations.
I remember because of a picture with Tyrone Power, if I don't remember it badly.
Okay,
It was on the-
okay,
and I
okay.
remember he was standing on the stairs or something like this.
So whenever
Yes, up on the
you
steps.
invite someone to dinner, either you cook so
I wanted
well.
to ask them a question, though.
Oh, sorry.
If they have any favorite outlaws, fictional or real?
Billy the Kid.
Billy the
Perhaps.
Good one.
Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay.
I just recently saw The Joker. I mean, an amazing outlaw. Sorry.
Definitely.
Sorry.
Definitely.
But yeah, an amazing outlaw.
He's not from the Wild West, but he's
yeah,
kind
he's
of.
a bit of an outlaw.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Here's a thought. I think we should call it a day. Give Miguel as a winner, because this is gonna go like this. Oh,
Yeah, you seem to think exactly. You're like, this week is the Wild West. Let's find somebody who knows a lot about culture.
I have to.
Not true, not
I
true.
have to admit that
I
I've
didn't
never
know
seen
anything.
Patricia making a comment like this one.
No, I'm fine. Admitting that I'm a complete ignorant in the Wild West.
All right. Well, talking of bandits, let me tell you of one of the most bizarre and gruesome stories. Elmer McCarty, a criminal who became famous in his death.
Okay, so McCurdy was killed in 1911 in a shootout with the police during a train robbery, and his body was embalmed by an Oklahoma undertaker. But as nobody claimed the body, he dressed him up, put a rifle in his hand, and exhibited the corpse in exchange for money.
Exactly, and that's only the beginning, because someone impersonating his brother claimed the body and exhibited in his own traveling show. To make things worse, that body changed hands so many times and was exhibited in so many places that in the end people moved it around thinking it was a wax dummy. And here it comes the question: how and when did they discover it was not a dummy but a mummy?
Yeah.
God.
Option A, 1954, an invoice of the funeral home was found in Elmer's pocket. That's option A. Option B, 1965, a woman recognized him as his grandfather. And C, 1976, Elmer's arm fell off during the shooting of a TV show.
Oh, I have to go for C. His hand had to have fallen off at that stage. There's no way they had the techniques of the Egyptians to embalm back in the 1911 in the States.
That's right.
I'm gonna go with C.
Patricia?
Yeah, the same,
That's
because
your
it's
pick.
gruesome.
Option C.
Yeah.
Miguel?
I say A again.
A, an invoice of the funeral home. That's a good one, actually. All right. So the right answer is C. Of course, during the shooting of the TV show, The $6 Million Man, someone manipulated him thinking that it was a dummy. And when the arm broke, well, surprise, he was finally identified and buried back in Oklahoma 66 years after his death.
That's a very weird story. Like gross, actually.
Thank God it never happened to our show. Something like that.
Yeah, let's hope it will never happen. Okay,
Yeah.
so the score is 1 point for each of our contestants. Okay, and we continue with a question. I don't know if you've ever seen, remember seeing any shocking exhibitions.
Shocking exhibition.
Shocking exhibitions. Yeah, the one that always shocked me was the human body one. You know, the one where they put this kind of gelatin stuff inside the body and they conserve it and it goes around the world. I think it was in Barcelona last year, and that it's quite shocking. And they show like different like lungs like in different stages of people who smoked and things like this. It's quite kind of like. No, have you seen this one? I think it's called the human body or something like that. It travels around the world. Yeah, it's quite intense.
Bodies, yeah.
Miguel?
I don't remember a shocking exhibition. Does it include Raphael? or this is not a shocking exhibition. I don't remember an exhibition like
I'm not going to make any comment on the relationship between the mummy and Raphael.
Better not.
Patricia?
For me, it was the sex and architecture one that there was last year at the CCCB.
Sorry, sex and architecture.
And architecture.
Yeah, it was the same, like the two concepts were intertwined together in the exhibit, and it made sense, actually. It was very well curated.
Anything related to the
Torre
Torre
Akbar,
Akbar?
for example, yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Here we go. Here we go. Exactly.
It wasn't that obvious, you know. It talked about urbanism and, you know, concepts from the 18th and 19th century in terms of. It was actually really cool.
Just wondering. Just wondering. So let's finish with our third Wild West story.
Okay, cowboy.
How do you name?
So this story has to do with Catalonia. In 1889, Buffalo Bill visited a very wild town called Barcelona. That's right, Barcelona. Buffalo Bill's Wild West show toured Europe 8 times, and in one of them he visited Barcelona along with more than 100 Lakota Indians and performers such as the legendary shooter Annie Oakley.
Yes, indeed. They camped in what is today's Eixample for 5 weeks, but the visit was unlucky. Several of them got the flu, one person of the crew died, and 2 Indians had to be admitted at Hospital de la Santa Creu. Even Buffalo Bill had to have a tooth extracted himself. And here is the question. Although he didn't get to visit Barcelona, which famous Indian leader joined Buffalo Bill's show for a while? Option A, Crazy Horse. Option B, Geronimo. And option C, Sitting Bull.
C.
C, Sitting Bull.
C.
C, Sitting Bull. And we keep going like this for the whole show. Miguel?
A.
A. Crazy Horse. And then you repeat A. And I say Crazy Horse. And we can do that
we were gonna stop
forever.
it now.
Exactly. Mark?
Geronimo.
that's not an option.
Sorry. Geronimo.
Yeah,
B.
why
So
not?
we
We got a C, a B, and an A.
Let's mix it
and
up.
the right answer is, of course, Sitting Bull. Point to Patricia.
Well done.
After surrendering to the U.S. forces, this Dakota leader joining the Buffalo Bill's Wild West show as a performer to make a living. We all have.
You know how I know this?
How?
Because it's in a book that Malcolm, our collaborator, wrote. Actually.
Yes, I knew that story. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so the score is 2 points for Patricia and 1 point for both Miquel and Mark.
It's okay, hang in there. We'll catch her. We'll catch
I
her.
know,
Kind of exciting.
she's always the winner,
Okay.
yeah?
No. Wait for it.
Let me ask you, in Westerns, who do you support, cowboys or Indians?
It depends on the cowboy and the Indian.
The polite answer.
Can he answer the
Very
Mexicans? Is that
diplomatic
possible?
answer.
The Mexicans.
Yeah, because the Irish helped the Mexicans fight back the Cowboys. So I'm
Well,
gonna
the
go with
Mexicans used to be the bandits
yeah,
on the
exactly.
cowboy
I'm going to
movies.
go with the Mexicans.
The Mexicans, Patricia?
Native Americans always, no matter what. It's
American.
a historical debt.
No one supporting the Cowboys. It's okay.
No.
Well, time for the speed challenge. 2 points for every right answer. Miquel, you will need the bell to answer this time. Check it out. It works,
Well done.
impressive. And Patricia and Mark will have to do it with the horn and the hammer. Just check it out. Patricia, just for fun. Goosebumps. Well, we'll tell you the name of a Western movie and you have to finish it. It's important. You can ring your bell, honk your horn, or hit your hammer at any time. I'm gonna give your name and then you deliver the answer. You guys ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Got it? You got
I
it?
got it.
Okay.
This time I got it.
So here we go.
All right, so
I'm joking. Go on.
first one, Wild Wild.
Patricia.
West.
West, correct.
Well done.
Here we go. The good, the bad, and Mark.
The ugly.
The ugly, point to you.
I wasn't sure
That was
because
close.
I think it was like very, very close to both of us
Yeah.
being
Very
there.
close,
But anyways,
very
go
close.
on.
I'm gonna.
Bar, as the football, yeah? VAR.
VAR,
We need it.
VAR. Go back. Exactly.
I'm a very terrible quiz master, but I'll take that. I'll take that in can.
Okay, high.
And the mighty.
No, that's incorrect. Mark?
High times?
Oh,
No,
yes, it is.
incorrect.
Can I repeat?
Technically not.
Well, let's give
Today,
him a chance.
we're gonna
no?
give you the chance.
High noon?
Yes,
That's
Okay.
correct.
Well done.
High noon,
Okay,
well done.
excellent.
Point to
No,
Miguel.
High Times is a marijuana magazine.
All right,
Completely wrong.
here we go. The magnificent Mark.
7.
It's very close, it's very hard, my position. 7.
You can give 0.5 to
7.
each of us. I'm sure he was
Point-
going to give it.
Exactly, a point to both. 7, the magnificent 7.
Okay, hang 'em.
Can you repeat?
Hang 'em.
Hang 'em up.
That's not correct.
Hum em up.
Mark, hang 'em high.
Synonym, yes.
That's right. So here we go.
Okay.
The man who shot?
Liberty Balance.
That's correct. Point to you.
Rio?
There are lots
The
of
name.
Did he say
The
your name?
name.
No, Bravo.
Patricia, bravo.
Bravo.
There are lots of Rio.
Yeah. Dances with Patricia.
Wolves.
Wolves, correct. Point to you.
Okay, Butch Cassidy and
Patricia.
Liberty Balance.
No.
Huh?
Mikel.
The Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
That's correct.
Yes, well done.
It didn't exist here.
Yeah. You have to go faster. All right. Ready? Django.
Unchained.
yes.
That's
Excellent.
correct.
All right, How the West?
Mark.
Was one.
Was one, of
Yes.
course. A fistful of Mark.
Dollars.
That's correct. Point to you.
For a few dollars?
Hold on, I have to think because I heard all the sounds at once, and I have
That's
to
true.
check in my mind which one was the first one.
Go back to VAR, yes?
Patricia.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Sorry.
Sorry, I forgot what was it.
For a few dollars?
Worth?
No, Miguel.
For a few dollars more.
More. And they call me Miguel. That was obvious, Mark.
Yeah, that's fine. I
They
don't.
call me Trinidad.
They call me Trinity.
Trinity,
That's right.
Trinity,
That's right.
okay.
Job well done.
Okay, well done. Quite a lot of Italian
You guys
films
have picked
here.
an interesting character this week.
Oh,
Yeah. You're like,
knows
you're
about
going to
it.
the Wild West, we're going to find somebody who knows all about the Wild West.
But it's too fast for me. I didn't know.
Everyone,
Don't complain, you're winning.
Everyone complains about the Quizmaster. It's obvious Patricia used to do that every single show last season.
But because of your really bad jokes, not for anything else. Really.
We had quite a few Italian films here.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So do you like spaghetti westerns?
I don't like Western, so I don't really care.
I like them. I
She
think
made
they're-
that clear.
Yes, I like them. See lots of them.
I was down in Almeria where they shoot them. There's a place called Tabernas.
You know something? My grandmother was from Tabernas.
Whoa! Really?
So that's the reason I know everything about Westerns.
See, I told you picked him because he knows everything about Westerns.
I have nothing
It's
to do
true.
about
Born
it.
in
I am
Tabernas.
just the fair Quizmaster, and talking about that, let's go over the score. Miguel is ahead with 15 points. Mark is right after, even despite that he's complaining all the time, with 11 points. So you might win for once. And Patricia is, incredible but true, losing with 8 points. I said losing, yes, I said Patricia is losing today.
It was bound to happen.
Well, the game is not over.
Exactly, it's not over yet, and there is only one challenge left, the clue challenge, which will decide the winner.
But before that, let's watch a bit of stand-up comedy with the giggles.
I met a fellow American girl in Europe the other day, and she said the most interesting thing. She said that gluten is different in Europe and that her allergy is just gone. I was like, I don't think the exchange rate affects science, but thank you for that. She was the type of girl who spoke really white girl Spanish. Like, she'd be like, por favor, you know? Or the type of girl that someone says, buenos dias, and she says, a tortilla to you too, sir. Thank you. What a nice guy. It's like, no. She also thought Feliz Navidad. She thought his name was Felix Navidad and that he runs for office in the government every Christmas.
Okay, so check Marnie's stories and the rest of the giggles online, and let's continue the game.
Yes, keep the bell, the horn, and the hammer because you will need them for the clue challenge, where every right answer can get you 3 points. We ask you a question and Marcella is going to read a list of clues one by one. You can answer any moment. First, we will ask you about the alias of a well-known person.
Okay,
I see
ready?
you guys are ready. Miguel is really
really
ready.
Miguel is about to bury us here.
Exactly.
I want to win. For one day I come.
He
so-
wants to win.
Yeah.
That's the attitude, guys. Especially to you, Mark. Talking to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it goes like that. This person was a man and was born in New York.
No one? Come on, guy.
He was a gunfighter who killed many men. He was very young. He was
Patricia?
Billy the Kid.
Yes.
He was Billy the Kid. Yes.
Amazing, Patricia.
Incredible.
amazing.
Like a simple association.
Exactly.
I was going to say that he was shot dead at the age of 21 by the Lincoln County Sheriff Pat Garrett, and that he was born Henry McCarthy, but he called himself William H. Bonney.
Yes, that was Billy the Kid, who had escaped a death sentence when he was shot dead by, as Marcella said, Pat Garrett. So let's move forward.
What about the score?
Yeah, the score is very interesting.
Yes, 15 points for Mikel.
But
Both Patricia and Mark have 11 points. So we have a draw between the two.
so things are getting intense and very exciting. Next question. Again, 3 points at stake. Now we want you to guess the name of a very important episode of the Old West.
Okay, so the name of a very important episode. It goes like this. It began in 1848 and finished in 1855.
Mikel.
The Gold Rush.
The Gold Rush, that's
Amazing.
It's very difficult. You can
Amazing.
watch as many times as you want the episode, and you will see that I am a very fair quiz master.
Yeah, the other clues were
1848
that
was
I was going to say that it took place in California.
Yeah.
It brought 300,000 people to the newly created state. Immigrants were attracted by some news, and this news was related to the finding of a precious metal, and this metal is gold.
Congratulations, Mikel. You're doing very well. And as we said, it was the California Gold Rush. A man found gold. Someone was trying to spill the beans, and suddenly everyone had the idea of going to California to find gold.
That's what you do every summer, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Good point, Mark. Actually, tell us about yourself in Hollywood, in LA. Did you find any gold yourself there?
I couldn't find any because you weren't there, ma'am.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on.
There you go.
Where did you learn these lines?
I just got
Also,
Right.
because the Oscars are very difficult to steal. I mean, to win. I meant to win.
Okay. Okay, so we better check the score, right?
Yes.
Mikel is in the lead with 18 points, and both Patricia and Mark have 11 points.
But we have reached the last question where a right answer can get you 5 points. Problem is that if you get it wrong, you will lose as many points. Well, things can change. Definitely, they can. So now we are after an invention without which the Wild West wouldn't have been what it was.
Okay, so you need metal to build it.
Mark.
A gun.
That's
the Colt.
incorrect.
Okay.
Incorrect. You are doing very well.
Let me continue. It was developed in the 19th century.
Patricia?
The Colt.
That's not correct. Mikel?
Railroad.
The railroad, it's not correct.
Let me continue.
So we all lose 5 points then?
No.
We've all just lost 5 points.
That's right. That's about right.
So if we get the next one right, we have 5 points back.
Okay, so let me continue.
Okay.
Many scientists contributed to this invention. This invention relies on electricity.
Mark?
The telephone.
That's not correct.
No.
You really want to win. Let me...
This invention needs a lot of wire.
Patricia?
The telegraph.
That's right, Patricia. Job well done. The electric telegraph, along with the railroad, the revolver, and the printing press, it's one of the iconic inventions that made the Old West what it was. By the way, one of the first to apply electricity to the telegraph was the Catalan Francesc Salvà i Campillo.
That's right, and we have a winner today, Sergi, and the winner is Mikel.
Oh, really?
Our guest is the winner today. Congratulations.
Well done.
He's in the lead with 13 points.
Do you know what your prize is?
Followed by Patricia with
You get a
11
date with
points,
Sergi.
and Mike today has 6 points. So, Mikel, congratulations.
Congratulations. You won the car. No, just kidding. There is no car involved today.
Well, Mikel, tell us, did you enjoy playing with us today?
Yes, really. Even more winning.
Exactly.
Mikel,
It's wonderful.
let me do that for you
With the
because
Stetson.
officially you are the winner today.
Okay.
So you're the cowboy.
Yes, never a worse cowboy in history.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Well, Mikel, I hope you haven't been too intimidated by Sergi. He's actually a good person. Right, Sergi?
Absolutely. Sometimes.
Or cowboy, I should say.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming and playing with us today. Mark, Patricia, until next time.
Always a pleasure.
And Mikel, thank you again.
Bye, Mom.
Okay, and we end the show here and say goodbye until next week. You can catch up with all the interviews, games, and sections on our website. Follow us on the social networks and don't forget to try and guess the guessword puzzle by Marius Serra, which is drama on this button, 4 letters. Think about it, and in the meantime, stay tuned, keep up your English, and have a great week. Bye-bye.